Is it in the premium tree?
Oh, I didn't look.
Good morning. I'm Mike Michaud, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Brunswick on this Wabanaki land that we now call Brunswick, Maine. If you are visiting and would like more information about our congregation, please stop at the visitors table in the fellowship hall. The folks there will be happy to answer any of your questions. In the interest of safety, please note that there are 3 exits to this building. One is through the door you came in, and a second is in the back of the room next to the AV booth, and a third is back, all the way back past the RE area. And as we begin the service today, please silence your mobile phones. Once again, welcome. We are glad you're here.
Today is a celebration of ministry, volunteerism, and community. And you may have noticed that there are a lot of empty seats today. And that's because the people who normally occupy those seats are involved in the larger mission of this congregation, and they have lined up for the processional parade of committees. One of the things we acknowledge today is that no one of us can do everything that needs to be done. And even if we could, that would be boring. So, in order for us to live our mission, it takes all of us contributing our energy and resources to do this work that we can only do together. We welcome you today to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Brunswick, not a place so much as a people. A community rooted in principles and values that honor and respect all life and compel us to put our faith in action. So, now let's get this parade started. So, first up, we have our art gallery committee. The amazing art gallery committee celebrates and displays artwork from local artists each month. Feast your eyes and enjoy the variety of creativity here at UUCB. And then next we have our auction committee. Auction night is back. Saturday, May 13th. Test your luck with bingo at 5. Then grab a bite to eat in the Merry Meeting Bay room and start bidding at 7 o'clock. Pick up a donation form at the table after church and please return them as soon as possible. And then we have our Board of Trustees. The Board of Trustees and the minister as an ex officio member meet monthly to manage the business of the church. The board's goals for this year are to support and develop congregational involvement and leadership and to reach out to our local community and strengthen our relationships with other UU churches. And then we have Building and Grounds, led by a rake. From our rooftop solar panels to the holly bushes on Pleasant Street, the Building and Grounds Committee maintains and monitors all aspects of the physical plant and grounds of the church. We hire outside vendors when necessary and volunteer for projects when our skills fit the job. We also collaborate closely with rentals and the safety committee as well as other committees of the church when warranted. Our aim is to keep the building and grounds safe and beautiful. And then we have our choir. The choir rehearses on Thursday evenings and sings on Sunday mornings. We build a strong sense of community through music. If you love to sing, we hope that you will consider becoming a choir member. Everyone is welcome to join. And then, big choir. And then we have our Caring Network, and the mission of the Caring Network is to facilitate concrete assistance and support for members of our church community with specific short-term needs. And then we have our Chalice group, our Chalice Circle Steering Group. The Chalice Circle Steering Group is composed of the Chalice Circle facilitators. We organize Chalice Circles each September and develop topics. We then meet periodically to continue working on topics for the groups, to discuss how the groups are going, and to plan for and identify facilitators for the subsequent year. And you may notice that some people, as they go off, they're running and getting back in line, so they're in a second committee. Coffee hour is next. We provide the coffee. You provide the conversation. Baristas needed every service. And then we have our Committee on Ministry. Appointed by the Board of Trustees, the Committee on Ministry provides oversight and support to the minister and the larger ministry of UUCB. We are charged with observing and assessing the conduct and progress of the church's larger ministry in the service of fulfilling our shared mission. And then we have our Communications Committee. Communication is central to just about everything we do at UUCB. Communicating with each other and with the wider world. One way we do that is by live streaming our Sunday services, and we are looking for people to join the AV team, so we can keep this much appreciated innovation going. And then we have Concerts for a Cause. We are the concert task force, bringing a variety of quality music performers to our greater Brunswick area since 2014. Our concerts attract audiences from all over Maine, so we have been able to raise money for our charities and our church using mostly other people's money. Would you believe we have earned over $38,000 for our charities? And then we have our Finance Committee. The Finance Committee works with all committees of the congregation to develop a budget, which is referred to the UUCB board and voted on by the membership. In addition, the committee monitors the congregation's income, expenses, and pledge payments, and it makes regular reports to the Board of Trustees. And next we have the Holiday Fair. The festive holiday fair in December builds the church's proper community and connection. This year, we are looking for people who'd like to talk fair this spring and to consider summer get-togethers, perhaps for generating new marketing ideas or crafting, or poster making or sorting jewelry. Why wait till fall for the holiday fair? And now we have the Membership Committee, whose purpose is to provide ideas and opportunities for newcomers, friends, and members to feel welcomed, develop connections, and find ways to become involved in the life of UUCB. We seek to create and maintain a spirit of warmth, caring, and community at UUCB. And then we have our Music Committee. The Music Committee provides consultation and support to the Director of Music regarding all aspects of the music program at UUCB. Our goal is to provide a program that enhances our sense of community and spiritual unity for everyone across generations. And then we have our pastoral care team. The pastoral care associates respond in a compassionate way to pastoral needs that come to our attention, listening with open hearts and ears and offering presence. We assist the minister by expanding the scope of pastoral care. I love the ears. And then we have our pledge drive team, who organizes the annual pledge drive, prepares the necessary materials, and reminds us to energize the congregation and helps bring this important process to a successful conclusion. And then we have religious education. The Religious Exploration Committee is not just for those who have children in the RE program. The RE committee likes long walks on the beach at sunset and fills the very important role of collaborating with the Director of Religious Exploration to offer fun, value-based programming for the youth of UUCB. The RE committee also works to create opportunities for families with school-aged children to connect with one another and with UUCB. Now we have our safety committee, who works to protect our church and its occupants from natural and human-caused dangers. Our plans focus on prevention, but must also guide emergency response while sustaining an open and welcoming environment. And our ushers and greeters are up next. They are the welcoming face of our congregation. Greeters stand by the door as everyone arrives, while ushers offer another friendly face, handing out orders of worship, answering questions, taking the collection, and helping wherever needed. And Working for Justice. The Working for Justice Steering Group organizes and supports social justice initiatives that express the UUCB chosen focus to work towards the prevention of prejudice and hate. Initiatives seek to encourage reflection and action among the entire congregation. There are 8 Working for Justice interest groups, and they are Black Lives Matter, Charities with Soul, Gun Safety Awareness, Habitat for Humanity, Indigenous Concerns, Maine Unitarian Universalist State Advocacy Network, or MUSON, New Mainers and Immigrant Justice, and the Teen Center. And then we have our worship committee. The worship committee are the collaborators with our ministry, helping to create a welcoming, meaningful, and worshipful setting and service. The organizers and planners for summer services, and they support our guest leaders. And the parts that are easy to see, setting up the chancel, the chalice, bell, candles, the book for sharing joys and concerns, and the worship committee is here every Sunday supporting us. So thank you all. So if you haven't taken your seat, you can take your seat.
Good morning. We light our chalice this morning in honor of those who founded, supported, and invested in this congregation since the 1800s.
For each person who has ever opened these doors and said to a newcomer, "Welcome, we are glad you're here."
The faithful caregivers who show up unprompted with food, Kleenex, and a listening ear whenever things go wrong or people need to know they're not alone.
Those with a passion for justice who have called us out into the streets to put our faith in action and who push us to remain relevant as the world changes.
Those behind the scenes making coffee, emptying the trash, managing our finances, carefully setting out chairs in wordless gestures of hospitality, and the list goes on.
And all of you, for it is only together that we are the church. And if you would rise as you are able, we'll sing our opening hymn and sing what people have already been demonstrating this morning. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Let us sing together.
I'm Louise Gephardt, and I'm going to read the story for all ages this morning. So if there are any children who would like to come up and join me, you're welcome to come. Tobin is not here today. He's in Augusta at the Augusta Church, but I'm here to read if anyone would like to come on up. I'm not scary, and I have really pretty pink shoes. They're brand new. I got them so I can find my feet easily. Anybody want to come and join? Thanks. Okay. The story today is A Chair for My Mother by Vera Williams. Vera B. Williams. She'd probably like her whole name read. She wrote the story to the memory of her mother, Rebecca Porringer Baker. If you look at the pictures on the wall, you can see them probably if you look up there, better than if I show them to you. My mother works as a waitress in the Blue Tile Diner. After school, sometimes I go to meet her there. Then her boss, Josephine, gives me a job too. I wash the salt and pepper shakers and fill the ketchups. One time I peeled all the onions for the onion soup. When I finish, Josephine says, "Good work, honey," and pays me. And every time I put half of my money into the jar. It takes a long time to fill a jar this big. Every day when my mother comes home from work, I take down the jar. My mama empties all her change from tips out of her purse for me to count. Then we push all of the coins into the jar. Sometimes my mama is laughing when she comes home from work. Sometimes she's so tired she falls asleep while I count the money into piles. Some days she has a lot of tips. Some days she has only a little. Then she looks worried. But each evening, every single shiny coin goes into the jar. When we sit in the kitchen to count the tips, Usually Grandma sits with us too. While we count, she likes to hum. Often she has money in her old leather wallet for us. Whenever she gets a good bargain on tomatoes or bananas or something she buys, she puts by the savings and they go into the jar. When we can't get a single other coin into the jar, we are going to take out all the money and go buy a chair. Yes, a chair. A wonderful, beautiful, fat, soft armchair. We will get one covered in velvet with roses all over it. We are going to get the best chair in the whole world. That is because our old chairs burned up. There was a big fire in our other house. All our chairs burned. So did our sofa, and so did everything else. That wasn't such a long time ago. My mother and I were coming home from buying new shoes. I had new sandals, she had new pumps. We were walking to our house from the bus. We were looking at everyone's tulips. She was saying she liked red tulips, and I was saying I liked yellow ones. Then we came to our block. Right outside of our house stood 2 big fire engines. I could see lots of smoke. Tall orange flames came out of the roof. All the neighbors stood in a bunch across the street. Mama grabbed my hand and we ran. My Uncle Sandy saw us and ran to us. Mama yelled, "Where's Mother?" I yelled, "Where's my grandma?" My Aunt Ida waved and shouted, "She's here, she's here. She's okay, don't worry." Grandma was all right. Sorry. I'm really happy Grandma was all right. Our cat was safe too, though it took a while to find her. But everything else in our whole house was spoiled. What was left of the house was turned into charcoal and ashes. We went to stay with my mother's sister, Aunt Ida, and Uncle Sandy. Then we were able to move into the apartment downstairs. We painted the walls yellow. The floors were all shiny, but the rooms were very empty. The first day we moved in, the neighbors brought pizza and cake and ice cream. They brought a lot of other things too. The family across the street brought a table and 3 kitchen chairs. The very old man next door gave us a bed from when his children were little. My other grandpa brought us his beautiful rug. My mother's other sister, Sally, had made us red and white curtains. Mama's boss, Josephine, brought pots and pans, silverware and dishes. My cousin brought me her own stuffed bear. Everyone clapped when my grandma made a speech. "You are all the kindest people," she said, "and we thank you very, very much. It's lucky we're young and can start all over." That was last year, but we still have no sofa and no big chairs. When Mama comes home, her feet hurt. "There's no good place for me to take a load off my feet," she says. When Grandma wants to sit back and hum and cut up potatoes, she has to get as comfortable as she can on a hard kitchen chair. So that is how come Mama brought home the biggest jar she could find at the diner, and all the coins started to go into the jar. Now the jar is too heavy for me to lift down. Uncle Sandy gave me a quarter. He had to boost me up so I could put it in. After supper, Mama and Grandma and I stood in front of the jar. "Well, I never would have believed it, but I guess it's full," Mama said. My mother brought home little paper wrappers for the nickels and dimes and the quarters. I counted them all and wrapped them all up. On my mother's day off, we took all the coins to the bank. The bank exchanged them for $10 bills. Then we took the bus downtown to shop for our chair. We shopped through 4 furniture stores. We tried out big chairs and smaller ones, high chairs and low chairs, soft chairs and harder ones. Grandma said she felt like Goldilocks and the 3 bears trying out all the chairs. Finally, we found the chair we were all dreaming of, and the money in the jar was enough to pay for it. We called Aunt Ida and Uncle Sandy. They came right down in their pickup truck to drive the chair home for us. They knew we couldn't wait for it to be delivered. I tried out our chair in the back of the truck. Mama wouldn't let me sit there while we drove, but they let me sit in it while they carried it up to the door. We set the chair right beside the window with the red and white curtains. Grandma and Mama and I all sat in it a while Aunt Ida took our picture. Now Grandma sits in it and talks with people going by in the daytime. Mama sits down and watches the news on TV when she comes home from her job. After supper, I sit with her and she can reach right up and turn out the light if I fall asleep in her lap. So that's how community helps people when they're in need, and we do that here too. And I don't know if the young people here remember, probably none of you are old enough to remember the fire we had when our old church burned down, and lots of people in the community came to help us too. And we had to raise a lot of money in a great big giant jar to pay for this new church. So we'll sing you out now so you can go to your RE classes.
Good morning. I'm Jane Danielson, a member of the Pastoral Care Associate team. For Joys, David and Bonnie Trigg welcomed into the world their first grandchild, Aulis Robinson Trigg, on March 18th. Their son Austin and his partner Ashley are over the moon. Somebody writes, the crocuses are coming. Glenn Williams says, fabulous fun. About 50 people came to our Golden Age of Pop dance party, and we raised $560 for the minister's discretionary fund. Thanks to Bonnie and Stephen Wood, Bessie Roper for help with planning, and all those who stayed after to clean up. And Gretchen writes, I paid a visit to Sue Kennedy at Cadogan Lodge at the Highlands, and we had a wonderful chat. Sue clearly enjoys visits from her UUCB friends. For concerns, Karma and Diane join many in grieving the loss of a longtime colleague and friend, the Reverend Jen J.C. Hall. May all who loved them, including their partner of 20-some years, Cindy, and the hundreds of chaplains who were educated by them over the years, find comfort. May Jen know the peace they found, so elusive recently. And Mike Heath writes, Dan Ellis is recovering from surgery at Maine Med. It could be a long haul with rehab, but he has appreciated cards from friends and UUCB folks. He won't be able to have visitors for some time, but Lynn Ellis can deliver cards and well wishes. Your positive thoughts are very welcome.
Would you join me in a time of prayer and meditation, beginning with just some deep breaths and some silence together? One of the special gifts of spiritual community is the container it offers us within which to celebrate life in all of its iterations, its joys and sorrows, and to do that together. So today, as we center our thoughts, let us be mindful of the people through the ages who have gathered here and opened their hearts. This is a community that has joined in with sincere celebrations of new relationships formed, new births, the realization of long-time hopes, life milestones. And it is a community that has held those who are hurting through times of illness, uncertainty, loss, and fear. We know especially in those reverent moments when we come together to witness life that we need one another. And so here we are, Spirit of Life. A diverse group of people with many opinions on many things, claiming comfort and purpose in being together, in our not knowing, in our shared search for understanding, in our sincere desire to help others and usher more love and justice into the world. This quite simply is our prayer. Let us offer it in openness and say Amen.
Good morning. I'm Stephen Wood, providing our reading this morning by Joan Chittister. We exist to be miracle workers for one another, and it is in community that we are called to grow. It's in community that we come to see God in the other. It's in community that we see our own emptiness filled up by the other. It's community that calls me beyond the pinched horizons of my own life, my own country, my own race, and gives me the gifts I do not of myself have within me. A spirituality of community calls for more than togetherness. Togetherness is a very cheap community. Community calls for the open mind and the open heart. The heart of community is a place where the truth of the oneness of human community shatters all barriers, opens all doors, refuses all prejudices, welcomes all strangers, listens to all voices. The data are in. Individualism has not saved us. We need the wisdom of community now.
This morning, you are in for a real treat, for you will be able to hear from the hearts of a few members of our community who, along with many others that you've seen and many others that you haven't, make UUCB what we are together. We are talking today very generally about vulnerability, because that's our theme for the month, and vulnerability as a path to community. And we're talking very specifically about the vulnerability that's involved in becoming actively engaged in a community. Volunteerism is one of the pathways to engagement in a spiritual community like this one, because it takes all of us working together to accomplish our shared mission. But it's not always easy to know how to get involved, especially when you're new. And many of us, no matter how long we've been here, harbor some doubts about whether or not what we have to offer is really wanted and needed. We may wonder, for example, if our particular gifts or experiences or talents, whatever they are good enough. We may wonder if we are good enough. The answer is yes. And those self-doubts that we have may be exacerbated when we see the tremendous gifts and talents of others. I just need to say this. Some of y'all are intimidating with your competence. Intimidating with your competence and your creativity, but that is also a magical doorway to potential. And so when each of us feels empowered to bring our authentic gifts, our very selves, into this amazing community project of becoming better humans and making the world more loving and just, there's no limit to what the Spirit of life can do in and through us. So I want to begin by thanking in advance Paul Peranto and Irene Austin and Mike Heath for sharing a little bit of their hearts with us today, and they'll go in that order. So let's hear from Paul.
Well, my name is Paul Peranto, and today's theme is vulnerability. And this right here is vulnerability for me, standing in front of people. But there's a reward that comes from allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, and that is the satisfaction of achievement. We cannot grow, cannot flower without taking risks. Today we're celebrating the committees that help us participate in church life. They were my entryway into the life of the congregation. I came to Brunswick and to UUCB knowing that I needed to establish myself in a community, to get to know people, to risk encounters. Not an easy task for me, actually. I didn't come to Brunswick willingly, by the way. It was my spouse's idea. And it took her 5 or so years to convince me. We came here in 2015. At first, I just sat in a chair in the sanctuary, like you are. Sylvia's sermons were insightful, and I always walked away with something. But I decided that I wanted to become a real part of the congregation. I started out participating in circle suppers and chalice circles. These are good, safe places to put yourself forward and let people come to know you, and you them. I highly recommend both of them for the first tentative toe dipping. Then I found enough courage to join the finance committee, mostly because it's small and so less risky. I personally found a great deal of satisfaction as we implemented new church financial software. I felt vulnerable in my brain, vulnerable in that my brain had aged quite a bit since my previous experience at database creation, but it was really fulfilling when my brain and the software both worked. With the risk of vulnerability somewhat under control in that I was feeling safer and more satisfied with my place in the congregation, I said yes when I was asked to be treasurer, be on the board, and join the pledge drive. There's something so pleasurable in working with members of this congregation that I would not have experienced without taking a risk of saying yes. Again, during COVID, I got a chance to really risk. I've been an amateur photographer for years, but I never really hoped to show my work to people, to strangers. I guess that is the fear that there is the fear of people not liking it or finding it trivial, or maybe just my shyness. But I took the risk and exhibited here in the church no less than 3 times. True, it wasn't so much backed by popular demand as it was that COVID had shut down our walls to outsiders. But it was certainly a satisfying experience, and I'm grateful for the positive comments I received. And there's a direct line between my allowing myself to be vulnerable and the satisfaction I felt. I'm grateful to the church and to you, its members, for that satisfaction.
Good morning. I'm Irene Austin. And I said yes. I think it was 2009, excuse me, when Joel and I first attended a service at UUCB. We were sort of church shopping, hoping to find a church that we felt would be a good fit. It happened to be a day that the choir was singing and Sylvia was preaching. And we were so impressed. It was so very different than any other church I had gone to before. After the service, I went to speak to our then choir director, Heidi, to say how much we enjoyed the service and how wonderful the choir. She invited me to come to choir rehearsal the next week and try it out. I went to that practice and was immediately welcomed by other choir members. They went scurrying to find me a music folder and some music, and Marianne invited me to sit near her so she could help me navigate the practice. After the rehearsal, Heidi asked me if I'd like to come back. I said yes. And that was the beginning of making a joyful noise with a group of wonderful people. Over the years, connections have deepened, and I feel like choir is a small family I'm so lucky to be part of. I'm so glad I said yes. When the new church was built, landscaping was needed. Cuffy invited me to join a group of volunteers to plant bulbs and do some garden chores. I said yes. And I've spent many happy hours doing just that, chatting with the other UUCB gardeners while we work to weed and prune and plant. Our encounters evolved to sharing plants from our own gardens with the church and with each other, and then visiting each other's gardens, becoming friends. The UUCB gardens have matured and changed, adding beauty to our church home, but also giving pleasure to our church neighborhood. Many times as I worked in the gardens, passersby would stop and say, "Thank you for doing this. We love the gardens." When spring brings the gardens back to life, I'm glad I said yes. Eventually, Sylvia asked me if I would join a group of church members to help expand the scope of pastoral care offered. With my background as a school counselor, she thought my skills might be of good use as a pastoral care associate. I really wasn't sure about how that would work and how I would connect with people I might not even know. I wasn't feeling very confident, but Sylvia believed in me. So I thought about it, and I said yes. I can't tell you how both daunting and rewarding this ministry is. Calling or visiting a church member who's having a difficult time or recovering from illness or injury feels like giving a simple gift to them. But I have been so enriched by getting to know some people in a much deeper way than I might at coffee hour or working on a committee with them. I feel honored to hear their stories, to share their journeys through illness, to sit with ill or bereaved people at their most vulnerable moments, offering whatever comfort I can. Being a pastoral care associate is so important to me. We may be perceived as a blessing to others, but we are also blessed by this work. I'm really glad I said yes. Okay, and then there was search team. What do I know about selecting a Unitarian Universalist minister, having grown up in a very Roman Catholic tradition where no one asks you for input into the next church leader? Even after 12 or 13 years of attending UUCB, this seemed like a big stretch and a huge responsibility. I was slightly terrified. David, Glenn, and Reverend Justine answered my many, many questions. I did a lot of thinking, and I said yes. I had no idea what I was getting into. It was an enormous undertaking with many tasks to accomplish on a tight timeline, and so much was riding on that work. Working on the team also meant having discussions with church members to understand their vision of leadership and what they wanted for our future. This helped me better grasp what is at the heart of Unitarian Universalism and what this congregation values. I have to say that the search team committee was the best team of people I've ever worked with. Every team member worked hard, shared responsibility, and felt safe to be open and honest. I feel like our work, which had to be done largely on Zoom due to the pandemic, brought us so close together despite working remotely. For my part, I can say I made 6 deep friends, and I felt very supported by church members. And look at the result of that work. Karma has taken us above and beyond our hopes and expectations. I'm so glad I said yes. I also volunteer for Concerts for a Cause. What a win-win. The congregation and the wider community get to attend fabulous concerts, and our charities with soul benefit from the profits we raise. Sue asked me a number of times to join Concerts for a Cause. I was a little bit busy. I finally said yes. And I've enjoyed being a part of those events, meeting performers, chatting with concert goers, both UUCB members and people from the community, and working with a fun group of people. I'm glad I said yes. Recently, I was invited to be part of the Committee on Ministry. This group is tasked with supporting not just Karma, but also the larger ministry of the church. This sounded pretty daunting, too. I really had to think about it. But I wanted to do what I could to be supportive of Karma and also assist our church community in working toward our mission and walking into our future. Do I know how this is going to work out? I don't. But I'm glad I said yes. Volunteering in these ways has helped me build friendships, bond with other members, be of service, find joy, make a difference, and be part of fulfilling the mission of this church. I give a lot, but I get so much in return. I'm so glad I said yes. I hope you will too.
And those are only 2 of the most amazing people we have in this church. Good morning. My name is Michael Heath, and I've been asked to wrap up this celebration of the people and commitment that makes UUCB the amazing place it is. Though I'm not usually a fan of parades, I'm blown away by the numbers of us that are connected right now in making this church such a vibrant and loving place. It really takes all of us as we move ahead. When Cindy Parker came up to me a few weeks ago, waving her phone at me to take a photo for the big pledge board back there, she took a picture and then she asked me why UUCB is important to me. She wanted to capture my thoughts along with the picture. Well, just as it has happened many times in the past, when anyone sticks a microphone on my face, asking for my thoughts, I freeze, wondering, what can I say that doesn't make me sound like a dope? For Cindy's benefit, I blathered something about cherishing the UUCB community and feeling like being home in this church. And I figured I'd say something a little bit more churchy, so I mentioned the importance of spirituality. Well, I guess it's not all so blathery, but it wouldn't fly as an elevator speech. I've got to work on that one. So those words about community and spirituality, I think, are really not so different from several other sound bites that are actually on that board. along with the other photos. So I know there are many of us who are connected to UUCB because of the community we share. There's nothing minor about finding rewards in the people and the activity around us at church. This place has been a critical part of my life, and I know that it is for many others as well. But then I started thinking about what it takes to get connected in a community, and in particular this one here. Now, for a lot of my life, I've been described as a terminal non-joiner. And in a lot of ways, I was for a long time able to do a lot of things all by myself. Well, that didn't work out so well in a short first marriage, which was more, I would describe as parallel play than it was mutual independence or dependence. But I'm glad I got better at sharing in the sandbox the next time around. My late wife, Valerie, discovered UUCB in 1994 when we moved to Brunswick. And she promptly got involved in groups where she could connect with people, mostly other women. And at the time, it was a writing group and women's retreats. She confided that she never really liked committee work. So she wasn't really that excited about joining committees. She didn't like organizing. She didn't like reading minutes. She didn't like doing hands-on stuff. But she thrived with the opportunities here where she could talk with others and build relationships. She was great at drawing others into conversation, particularly new folks, at coffee hour. She found her niche with people here. I, on the other hand, do like hands-on stuff. I like tasks and organizational work, but as a non-joiner, for a long time, I just hung around on the outside looking in for several years. And it wasn't until Mike Michaud asked me to join the Building and Grounds Committee in the early 2000s that I felt like I could take a bigger role. He made me feel wanted and needed. And that was the beginning of my discovering many different hats in the church community. Hats I thought would never fit me or that seemed too intimidating to even try on. Being both an introvert and lacking in self-confidence, and that's really true, even though it may not have looked like that because I've stood up here at this pulpit or in front of groups with microphone a lot. But getting past, let me see, I'm getting confused here now. So being an introvert and lacking in self-confidence, but I made the efforts to get past the not thinking that I could do anything well enough so that I really benefited from some sharp elbows and some real nudges from people that believed I could. So my life has been so much richer as a result of my engagement with committees and activities here at church. Val and I even found that making coffee together was really, really rewarding. We, all of us in this community, need each other, just as the worship services over this whole month and today have really been bringing home to us. So I encourage everybody with us today to consider the parade and these little speeches as an invitation and a nudge to get involved. And I encourage those many of us who are involved to make an invitation that could prove to be the catalyst for others to join in. Join in for your own sense of self, personal growth, and connection to community, as well as for the essential service to our congregation that you can provide. Thank you for being a part of this church. Thank you for making our community better for joining in. And please take advantage of the displays after church. And there are little signs around the sanctuary where the committees will be representing information for you. And please take advantage of those displays after church. That may help you find your niche or even find a new one. There's nothing better than to get involved in community. Thank you. Now I have to get back to the AV booth before the next slide.
Now, before we take up the offering today, or receive the offering gratefully, and to give Mike a little time, I want to ask you to do something that my former tradition would call an offering of praise, or an offering of thanksgiving to all of the people who have made this community what it is. Can we give that offering?
Good morning. It's nice to see your faces again rather than the back of your heads. Anyway, I am not Carol. My name is Ashley Richards, and I'm part of the Pledge Committee. Anyway, first of all, I want to say that the three people that were just up here, they are the epitome of that saying, the more you give, the more you have. They really are. Something to keep in mind. So before we start the collection, I just want to give you a brief update on our pledge drive. As of Friday, we have reached roughly 75% of our pledge goal of $270,000. For those who have pledged, thank you so much for your pledges. And for those who have not pledged yet, please give as generously as you are able. This is a team effort. And with your pledge, we will reach our goal. So please consider. Okay, could I have the ushers come up, please? say that all the Sunday non-pledged cash is split with the monthly charities with soul. This month's charity is the Immigrant Legal Advocacy Project. Please come forward. And when do we do this? This little thing here. After. So, can I have the congregational response? Is that the next thing? I'm here with this. Thank you.
And if you would rise as you are able, we'll sing our closing hymn, number 318, and the words are on the screen. You may be seated. You heard these words from Sister Joan Chittister just a while ago. Hear them again as we prepare to leave. We exist to be miracle workers for one another, and it is in community that we are called to grow. Friends, when we come together in this place with open hands and hearts to become something bigger and more purposeful than is possible within the confines of our limited perspectives, that is a sacred act with transformative potential. And UUCB is precisely here to offer us all an invitation and opportunity to do that together. As we continue to live in our mission, let us remember that many hands make light the work and many hearts make real the love. May it be so with us.
So now is the time to rise, get your coffee, greet your neighbor, and come and join a committee. But please explore all the various committees and activities there are here at UUCB. Everyone will be lined up, representatives from all the committees around the fellowship hall and the sanctuary. So let's go.
Just a quickie, as far as the men's club is concerned, there's too many activities going on. We have over 20 inquiries to have 20 men join and so on. They'll join next week. You already have a doodle survey that's probably sent out to you, so please return that. Thank you very much.